Okay, if some of you have your gadgets, you can see 1.3.43 for the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'll give the background before I start this. This is the third chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The first chapter is like an introduction. We start with the Mangalacharan prayers, the invocation prayers, and then the scene is set at Naimisharanya. Aranya means a forest. Naimisha is the name of that forest. And that general region is still existing today. And it is near the Indian city of Kanpur, not too far from Ayodhya. Of course, as it happens usually with time, the words get distorted, languages change. So now the place is not called Naimisharanya, but it's called Nimsar. So many of these places are still existing where this conversation took place, where the sages had gathered for a 1,000-year-long sacrifice to be performed for the welfare of everyone, of the whole world. Because sages by nature are very compassionate when they see the suffering of the conditioned living entities, they want to do something for their welfare. So they thought, let us perform this fire sacrifice. And they were doing it for a long time. And nothing good seemed to be coming out of it. As they will say at a later stage, karmanyasmin anashvase dhuma dhumaratmanam bhavam. They will say, we've performed this particular sacrifice for such a long time, but the only benefit we seem to have got out of it is that our faces have become black because of the smoke from the fire. Apayayati Govinda pada padmasavam madhu. But now that you are giving us the nectar, the narrations of the nectar of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, we are feeling very satiated, very satisfied. So this is the real business of life. So the sages at Naimisharanya got this realization when Suta Goswami came to speak to them. And earlier they were in this fire sacrifice, but the moment Suta Goswami arrived, then they understood that here is a special soul. And Suta Goswami will give his own history a little later, and he will say how it is that he himself got to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Shukadev Goswami spoke this message to King Parikshit, Suta Goswami was also present there. And he heard it with rapt attention, and he remembered everything that was spoken. And he was able to repeat it verbatim. 7 days of conversation, repeated verbatim, by hearing it once. That's something, isn't it? Special. They were called Shrutidhar. Shrutidhar meaning that they were able to remember it just by hearing it once. So Suta Goswami came there, and all the sages led by Shaunaka Rishi, then they welcomed him with the proper courtesy, the proper etiquette, and they made him sit on the Vyasasana. And they said, they asked him 6 questions. So these 6 questions appear in the first chapter. And the first chapter ends with the 6th question. And the answers to these 6 questions are given in chapters 2 and 3. We are in chapter 3. This is the end of chapter 3. And the verse we are going to read today, 1.3.43, is actually the answer to the 6th question, wherein the sages are concerned about where dharma will reside or take shelter in now that Lord Krishna has departed for the world. Dharma kam sharanam gataha. That is their question. Now that Krishna has left for his abode, where have the religious principles gone for shelter? Earlier, Lord Krishna was present here. He is the personification of Dharma. So, he is the proponent of Dharma, he is the initiator of Dharma, he is the knower of Dharma, he is the establisher of Dharma. So, Krishna was personally present, so there was no problem. But now that Krishna had departed, where have the religious principles gone for shelter? That was the question, the all-important question. So, Suta Goswami, in the second chapter, he thanks the sages assembled at Naimisharanya for the nice questions that they asked. You know, it's not easy to ask good questions. Questions anybody can ask, but you have to know the right kind of questions to ask. And these sages were very wise, so they asked perfect questions. Of course, what the 6 questions were and what the answers were a topic for a very interesting seminar or a lecture at least. But we won't go into that now. But the etiquette is that when somebody asks a good question, then the speaker congratulates the questioner, says, "You've done a very good question. It's really a good question you asked." Because sometimes we get all sorts of silly questions, right? People ask really strange questions, silly questions. Sometimes they ask them just in a challenging way, just for the sake of asking something. But Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport to the Tadbuddhi Pranipatena verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which talks about how one should seek out a bona fide spiritual master. He said that we should ask questions, but they should neither be blind following nor absurd inquiry. So it's not that we are prohibited from asking questions. We certainly ask questions, but those questions should be thoughtful. They should be relevant. They should be intelligent. And at the same time, it should not. The question should not be absurd. Neither should we just blindly follow because somebody tells us something. It has to be backed by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra on the authority of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Suta Goswami was very happy to hear these questions. So perfect questions, perfect answers. He had been through this session of perfect questions, perfect answers earlier, when Parikshit Maharaj asked perfect questions and Shukadev Goswami gave the perfect answers to that. So now Suta Goswami thanked them and he praised them, and then he went on to answer those questions. After answering the first 5 in brief, actually, he comes to the 6th question, and then he starts speaking about the Srimad Bhagavatam. In answer to the 6th question, which is Dharmam kam sharanam gataha, where have the religious principles gone for shelter now that Krishna has departed for his abode? He starts off by saying in some of the earlier verses to this one, he says, Idam Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samhitam. He said, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of Krishna. So it's not an ordinary book. Those of you who have the book with you, you can go back to some of the early verses. It's probably text 40, yeah, where he says, Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi. He says this literature, that is the Srimad Bhagavatam, is a description of the charita, or the pastimes, or the messages of Uttama Shloka, of Lord Krishna, who is described in the Uttama, or the best shlokas, or the verses. Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi. Chakara means it has been composed or compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva. Nishreyasaya lokasya dhanyam swastyayanam mahat. So this is meant for the welfare of all the living entities. It is all glorious. It is all perfect. It is opulent. And then he explains that actually this message was spoken by Vyasadeva to his son Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami spoke it to Parikshit Maharaj, and I was also present, Suta Goswami says, at that assembly. So I heard it at that time. And now he comes to the perfect answer. Having given a little bit of a background to the answer to that question, he comes to the point now. And in this 43rd verse, he explains where it is that the religious principles have gone for shelter now that Lord Krishna has departed from this world. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So text 43 of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishne Swadhama Upagate Dharma Jnana Adibhihi Saha Kalau Nashta Drisham Eshaha Purana Arkaha Adhuna Uditaha Krishne Swadhamupagate Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha Kalau Nashtadrishamesha Puranarko Dhunoditaha Krishne Swadhamupagate Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha Kalau Nashtadrishamesha Puranarko Dhunoditaha Krishne Swadhamupagate Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha Kalau Nashtadrishamesha Puranarko Dhunoditaha. Please chant.
Krishne Swadhamo Upagate
Krishne Swadhamupagate
Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha
Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha
Kalau Nashtadrishamesha
Kalau Nashtadrishamesha Puranarko Dhunoditaha.
Krishna Swadhamupagate
Krishna Swadhamupagate Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha Kalau Nashtadrishamesha Puranarko dhunoditaha. Someone else?
Krishna swadhamapagate.
Krishna swadhamapagate.
Jnanadibhisaha.
Dharma jnanadibhisaha.
Punastadrishamesha.
Puranadrishamesha. Puranarko dhunoditaha. Mataji's?
Krishna swadhamapagate.
Krishna swadhamapagate. Dharma jnanadibhisaha. Kalau nashtadrishamesha. Puranarko dhunoditaha. Someone else?
Krishna swadhamapagate.
Krishna swadhamapagate. Dharma jnanadibhisaha. Kalau nashtadrishamesha. Puranarko dhunoditaha.
Krishna swadhamapagate.
Krishna swadhamapagate. Dharma jnanadibhisaha. Kalau nashtadrishamesha. Puranarko dhunoditaha. Krishna, in Krishna's Swadhama, own abode, Upagate, having returned, Dharma, religion, Jnana, knowledge, Adibhihi, combined together, Saha, along with, Kalau, in the Kali Yuga, Nashtadrisham, of persons who have lost their sight. Eshaha, all these, Purana Arkaha, the Purana, which is brilliant, like the sun. Adhuna, just now. Udita, Uditaha, has arisen. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. This Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali Yuga shall get light from this Purana. Please repeat. This Bhagavat Purana, is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen, just after the departure, of Lord Krishna, to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Shall I read the purport? It's a little long. Okay, shall we read it?
It's very nice.
You're with me?
Yes,
We'll go for it?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Shri Krishna has his eternal dham or abode, where he eternally enjoys himself with his eternal associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is a manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his external energy. When he descends on the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia in his internal potency, which is called Atma Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atma Maya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc. are not therefore creations of matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to re-establish codes of religion which are directly enacted by him. Except for God, no one can establish the principles of religion. Either he or a suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Real religion means to know God, our relation with him, and our duties in relation with him, and to know ultimately our destination after leaving this material body. The conditioned souls who are entrapped by the material energy hardly know all these principles of life. Most of them are like animals engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. They are mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They are still more blind in the present age of quarrel or Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal edition of the animals. That's a knockout punch, isn't it? I'll repeat that sentence. Okay? In the Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal edition of the animals. They have nothing to do with spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego. But they are very much proud of their advancement in knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk their lives to become a dog or a hog just after leaving the present body, for they have completely lost sight of the ultimate aim of life. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga, and he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Srila Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the messages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus both the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam are like torch bearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is a preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum of life. Lord Shri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can also see Lord Shri Krishna in person. They are identical. So Prabhupada's purports are very, very illuminating and very powerful. They clarify everything so nicely. And the verses of the Bhagavatam are also so inspirational. An interesting point that I want to begin with before I get on to the Bhagavatam proper is that even though in this verse it is said that it is a Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the torchlight, so to speak, the torch bearer for the blind, spiritually blind people of this age, Prabhupada mentions in addition to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. And he says not one, but these two books are essential. These two books are the torch bearers for the spiritually blind people of this age. And we see how much importance Srila Prabhupada gives to this, because in every purport practically of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or very often at least, and definitely in every lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, he cites or quotes from the Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, so it is, so to speak, the foundation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. One who wants to relish and understand and taste the Srimad Bhagavatam, preferably should also be aware of the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, he or she will not be able to understand and relish so much. So, once we have understood Bhagavad Gita, then the Bhagavatam becomes so wonderful and so relishable. So, coming now to the verse proper, we'll remember that the question to which this is the answer was, what was the question? Where have the principles of religion taken shelter, gone for shelter? Dharmaha kam sharanam gataha. Gata means where have they gone? Where have the principles of dharma gone for taking shelter, sharanam, now that Krishna has left this world? And here is the answer. It says, Krishna swadhama upagate. Upagate means having gone, having returned. So now that Krishna has departed to his own abode, swadhama. Swa means self, abode, dhama means abode. Dharma jnana adibhihi saha. Along with religion, knowledge, etc. Because Krishna is the personification of all of these. So when he leaves, he takes along naturally dharma, jnana, etc. But adhuna uditaha, just now, adhuna, just now, recently has arisen arkaha, a sun, S-U-N, which is this Purana, Bhagavad Purana. So this Bhagavad Purana is just like the sun which has arisen very recently, just now arisen. And what is it meant for? Kalau nashta drisham esha. In this Kali Yuga, Kalau, for those people who are nashta drisham, drisham means the vision, nashta means destroyed. For those people whose spiritual vision has been completely destroyed, this is like the shining light, it's like the torch bearer. So Purana Arkaha, this Purana which is brilliant like the sun, it shows us the way in darkness. And what is this darkness? It is the darkness of ignorance. So Srimad Bhagavatam is that one book, the proverbial book, that you would like to have when you are stranded on that desert island. Yes, you carry the Bhagavatam with you always. And now these are very handy editions, very little books you can carry whenever you travel. Have it in your bag. So even if you get stranded somewhere in a traffic jam, just open the book and you can read this Bhagavatam and relish it and have no problems. And then you'll wish the traffic jam goes on and on and on and you don't worry about anything. Whoever has to wait, let them wait, but I'm with Srimad Bhagavatam. And I have no worries in life because I'm with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes? So, when shall that day come? We should all pray like this, that we will get that kind of taste and relish and eagerness to hear and read and study Srimad Bhagavatam, that we won't have a care for the world. But that doesn't mean that we'll be irresponsible. We will naturally do all our responsibilities nicely. But internally we will begin to relish it so much that we will not be worried about the pains and pleasures of this world. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada begins by talking about the eternal dham, or the abode of Krishna. And in the earlier purports also he has said that Krishna's abode and Krishna's pastimes in those abodes are not imaginary. They are not fanciful creations of some fertile brain sitting in a cave who has a very good imagination, and he, what's that Potter? Some Harry Potter. Just like, this is not a Harry Potter kind of, thing, right? This is historical reality. It's not, it's the literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So, Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi. So, it is a description of the activities of the Supreme Lord, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva. And Srila Prabhupada also mentions earlier that the Srimad Bhagavatam contains the narrations of events that have happened from time immemorial, going back to millions of years. And these events have happened not just on the Earth planet, but also on various other planets all over the universe. These are not fairy tales. These are historical narrations. And he also says that people think that history began like around the time of Buddha, which is about, how much, 300 BC or maybe 600 BC, 300 BC I think Buddha. So he says it's something like that, and before that anything that has happened, a modern historians say it's mythology. Or they have their own mythology for it, about how things evolved and what happened, etc. But Prabhupada says no, the Bhagavatam contains historical narrations. And this has been transmitted down through the disciplic succession of empowered acharyas like Narada. And as Prabhupada mentions here in the purport, that Narad Muni was especially empowered by Krishna personally to further empower Vyasadeva to write this Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada says also, Vyasadeva had no business writing fairy tales, or writing imaginary stories, or stories that are not the truth. But we have this conception of what is historical and what is true and what is not. So these are our history books. Our history books are not this invasion and that invasion. Our history books are just that. One time one devotee was telling me that a very famous person, I don't remember who it was, he had a succinct definition, a description of what the word history means. Yes? And I'll use a word which generally is not good etiquette to use in a class or even in normal conversation, but it's a part of the definition that he gave, so I'll repeat that. He said, what is history but one damn thing after another? This man fought this battle between this one and that one, this king fought with that king, and this tragedy happened here, and this king ruled like this, and he fought, another king came and overthrew him, and he killed him, and then this happened, and that happened, that treachery happened, that disaster happened, The only good news you ever hear is, okay, this king planted lots of trees, he was a just king, he was a pious king, people were happy and prosperous under him. They weren't, but they just say he was. So that's history, But history is remembered not so much for the good things that happened. I'm talking about the mundane history taught in schools. But it's remembered more for the battles that happened, all the big disasters that happened, the tragedies that happened. Yes? The history of Europe, for example, what will you remember? First World War, Second World War, yes, the killing of the Nazis, by the Nazis of the Jews, and things of that sort. There's nothing really inspirational, nothing really purifying, nothing uplifting, nothing truly beneficial. But these history lessons that we have from the Srimad Bhagavatam are not just historical and true, but they are actually sublime. By hearing this history, we will become purified. We will attain the perfection of life by hearing these history lessons. So this is what the Srimad Bhagavatam is all about. It's not an ordinary book of mythology. It is a history book, but not an ordinary history book. It's a book that gives us transcendental history that cuts across time and space and goes way into the past, more than we can even imagine. And it goes way into space as well, into different planets on this universe, and way into the spiritual world. So there is such a spiritual world, and Krishna lives there eternally, enjoying pastimes with his pure devotees. We belong to that world, and we have to go there. When Krishna descends into this world, he does so, Prabhupada says, by his Atma Maya, by his internal energy. And not as the Mayavadis say, that his body is made of material elements, and therefore they are called Mayavad. And he descends here to exhibit very beautiful pastimes, which attract the minds of the conditioned souls. And then we start serving him, we start worshipping him. And these pastimes are recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam and similar scriptures. But Srimad Bhagavatam is a primary scripture where these pastimes of Krishna have been recorded. Well, there are many Vedas, there are Puranas, there are Upanishads, there is a Vedanta Sutra, there is so much. But what's so special about the Bhagavatam? Even the Veda is non-different from Krishna. It's the breathing of Krishna. The Upanishads are also part of the Vedic literatures, which are non-different from Krishna. So what is special about the Bhagavatam? Specifically, it's mentioned there, Puranam Brahma Samhitam. Specifically the literary incarnation of God. So it is God incarnate in literary form. So when we hold the Srimad Bhagavatam, we know that we are holding Krishna. There's no difference. So therefore we should keep these books very carefully in our place, wherever we are. We should deal with the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita as respectfully and devotionally as we would, let's say, any other very, very holy item. We should not think this is just a book, just carelessly keep it away somewhere. It should always be very well kept, very respectfully kept. Even when we are traveling, let's say in a car, we shouldn't keep it on the seat, where we sit down. And certainly we should not keep it in a place where our feet would touch it, and so on. And moreover, the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Sarva Vedeti Hasanam Saram Saram Samudritam. Sarva means all, Veda, Itihasanam. Itihas means a history, referring to the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Puranas. The word Puran means something that happened very, very long back, an ancient thing. So the Puranas are narrations of ancient stories or events that happened. So the Puranas in the Mahabharata and Ramayana are called Itihasa or history. So the Bhagavatam says, Sarva Vedeti Hasanam Saram Saram Samudritam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the condensed essence of all the histories represented by the Puranas and the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the Vedas. It's the cream of the milk. The essence of milk is cream, the most palatable part of the milk is the butter and the cream that comes out. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is like that. Similarly, there's another verse which says, Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Shri Bhagavatam Ishyate Tad Rasamrita Triptasya Nanyatra Syadratih Kvachit. Which means, Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi. This is not just the essence of the Vedas and the Puranas and the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Somebody may say, well, what about the Vedanta Sutra? So this verse says, this is also the essence of the Vedanta Sutra. Sarva Vedanta Sarami Shri Bhagavatam Ishyate. And this is called Srimad Bhagavatam. And one who has attained satiation, or one who has relished this Srimad Bhagavatam, Tad Rasa Amrita Triptasya. One who has been satisfied by the nectar of the rasa or the mellow of the Srimad Bhagavatam, na anyatra syadrati kvachit. Why will he pay attention to any other book? So because this book has so much nectar, and anyone who has relished this nectar will not want to have anything to do with any other book. So this one book is sufficient. We don't need anything else. And especially in this age, the Srimad Bhagavatam has been recommended very strongly as a primary torch bearer to show us the way. Now all of you know this pastime from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where King Parikshit sees a very cruel looking man accosting a person, or rather that cruel looking man is assaulting a bull. Can anyone briefly narrate what exactly happens there? Whom does King Parikshit actually assault? What does he see when he's traveling around?
I think he sees Kali and then Dharma personified in the form of a bull, and he is hitting him, and I think he's cutting off the legs even of that bull. So he is very cruel to the bull.
Of course, at that time, yes, that's right. When King Parikshit is going around his kingdom to see whether everything is going on according to the principles of Dharma or not, he sees this extraordinary sight which he never saw anywhere in his kingdom. That there was this man who was very cruel, and he was beating a bull at its legs, and the bull had only one leg. 3 legs were already broken, and he was now beating the 4th one. Now this was unimaginable to King Parikshit, because in those days nobody could imagine in their wildest dreams that somebody could harm a cow or a bull. Even the sages at Naimisharanya could never think that a time would come in Kali Yuga when cows would be slaughtered in such large numbers and in so a cruel a manner. So he was aghast. So he arrested this man, and he wanted to kill him on the spot. But then what happened?
He asked for pardon.
He asked for pardon.
He surrendered to him and asked for pardon.
He surrendered to King Parikshit and asked for pardon.
And then reminded that by surrendering to you, I expect a pardon.
Okay, by surrendering to you, I expect a pardon. And then what did King Parikshit do? Did he pardon him or did he kill him?
So King Parikshit, because of his dharma, he pardoned him, but he said he could only be residing in certain specific places.
So he pardoned him, and he said you could reside in certain specific places. What kind of places?
So where the gambling is happening, where the slaughterhouses, where the prostitution happens, and
where there is gold.
And so that was.
Where there is gold means where there is lots of money, all these things will happen. There will be intoxication, there will be illicit sex, there will be gambling, there will be meat eating. So go to a place where there's lots of gold and do your job over there, but don't stay here in my jurisdiction. Now, the interesting question, and the reason I raised this point, why did Parikshit Maharaj pardon this man? He was Kali personified, yes. Why did he pardon him? According to the Vedic rules, if somebody is doing that, he should be killed on the spot, and that's the duty of the king. So he should have killed him. But he pardoned him. Why? Yeah.
Prabhu was saying that because he surrendered to him.
He surrendered to him, so why did he not kill him? When he surrendered?
Taken shelter, you cannot kill him.
Yes, that is a Kshatriya dharma. When somebody takes shelter of a Kshatriya, then he is duty bound to give him protection and to not kill him anymore or to not harm him anymore. This is a principle. Even Krishna follows this principle. If anyone comes to him and says, now I'm yours, then Krishna says, okay, now I won't kill you anymore. That's one reason. But that's an external reason. There's an internal reason.
The internal reason is that it's again Lord's Leela that the Kali Kali Yuga is supposed to be progressively demeaning and worse, where all the habits and all the essentially degradation will happen, so that in that age then of course Lord Chaitanya can come and do us the boon of taking the shelter of holy name.
Excellent. Well, the idea is, so what you're saying is that the internal reason was that he wanted Kali Yuga to remain, because Kali Yuga is the age where everything becomes very degraded, and he wanted that age to happen so that eventually Lord Chaitanya would come and spread his and inaugurate his movement. I'll elaborate on that a little bit. Actually, if Kali had been killed, that would have disrupted the natural sequence of the ages, right? When you have Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali is gone, then you have, after Dwapar Yuga straight Satya Yuga. Now how can you have that? You can't disrupt nature's orders, or the orders, or the order of sequence of things in nature. Secondly, yes, the point is also there that he wanted Kali Yuga to happen because he knew, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there, but specifically the secret for that is given in another verse in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the 9 Yogendras say, Kalim sabhajayantya arya gunabhyah sara bhaginaha yatra sankirtane naiva sarvalabhya sarva ichha pralabhyate. So, anyone has 11th canto here? Do you have that? Can you bring? So here in this verse it says that there is something very special about this age of Kali. In this age of Kali, all desires will be fulfilled. How? By the process of chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Yatra sankirtane naiva. Certainly by the sankirtana movement and the process of sankirtan, all desires, all sublime things will happen. And therefore, O great sages, Arya, those who are knowledgeable, those who are aware, Sara Bhaginaha means those who know the essence of things, those who are able to extract the essence, just like you extract the butter from milk, you extract the essential aroma or the fragrance of a flower. So you have aromatic oils, fragrances that come from the oil. So these fragrances represent the aromatic essence of the flower. So similarly, the great Vaishnavas are those who know how to extract the essence, the flavor from everything and anything in this world. So such people who are gunagyaha, who are endowed with all sorts of auspicious qualities, they are gunagyaha and sarabhaginaha, they worship Kali Yuga. Kalim sabhajayanti. Now generally we speak of Kali Yuga in a very disparaging way, in a very deprecatory way, isn't it? We say, well, something is happening, oh, it's Kali Yuga. Oh, oops. Okay, that is a thorough job. Okay, well, I don't remember which chapter this was in this verse, but so it will take time to take out this verse. In any case, I've said the verse. So these people, they worship Kali Yuga. We condemn Kali Yuga. Oh, this is Kali Yuga. So in India, you'll find it very common. You know, if some ghastly thing has happened and you go to a pious person, you say, oh, this is Kali Yuga. Isn't it? So anytime anything bad happens, you just say, this is Kali Yuga. It's not wrong, it's true. And here we have these saintly people who say, we worship Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga Namo Namaha. We offer our respectful dandavats and obeisances to Kali Yuga. This glorious Kali Yuga. So why that? Why so? You see, because in the earlier ages, realization of Krishna was extremely difficult, very challenging. In the Satya Yuga, you had to perform meditation and severe austerities for like 60,000 years, 70,000, 80,000 years, right? For us, even to do it for 60 to 80 minutes is something so difficult. To chant around, sit in one place and chant japa, you know, without fidgeting and without becoming restless and without our mind wandering is really next to impossible. So the question of doing meditation for even 60 minutes, what to speak of 60,000 years, is not possible. And in Treta Yuga, there was the process of performing big, huge sacrifices. That's not possible in this age also. You know, where is the ghee? Where is the ghee to do all of that? Where are the cows left? You know, so it's not possible to perform these sacrifices. And as far as Dwapar Yuga is concerned, you have huge temples where there's gorgeous worship of the deities. That requires enormous wealth. And where is that possible? And within ISKCON we know it's such a hard struggle to build a temple. You know, the fundraising and everything is just so difficult and so disturbing to the consciousness, because then the devotees are just in that money consciousness. I have to raise money, we have a target. How difficult it is for the devotees in Mayapur to raise money for the temple of Vedic Planetarium. Yes? They're going everywhere and anywhere. So much anxiety. Every month they have to come up with a certain amount, a big amount, just to keep the construction going. Very difficult task. It's actually hand to mouth. As much as they collect this, send for the construction is over. By the time the next month they have to raise enough money again to keep that going. It's very difficult in this age to manage. We don't have that kind of wealth. Or those who have the wealth, all the people, they'd rather give it for some other purposes, not for a temple. And once you made the temple, now the real story begins. Then you have to maintain that temple. Oh my God, that's very difficult. So much anxiety, making life members and doing this and that just to somehow maintain the temple. So a few big temples and, you know, it's so difficult. So in Kali Yuga to do all of that is very, very difficult. But Kalo Tad Hari Kirtana, so the process of chanting the names of Krishna, of glorifying Krishna, is the way. Which doesn't require money, big money at least. It doesn't require austerities, it doesn't require huge sacrifices, and anyone and everyone can do it. Sarva Swartha Abhilabhyate. So swartha means benefit. Swa artha, what is my true benefit? So in this age of Kali Yuga, yatra sankirtanenaiva sarva swartha bhilabhyate. So everything will be obtained by the process of sankirtana. Kirtan means glorification of Krishna. Kirti means glory. Kirtan means glorification. So glorification of Krishna when done together. So not just the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, but also discussing the messages and pastimes of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is also Sankirtana. So what we are doing right now is Sankirtan. We hear and chant the glories of Krishna and specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam. So just by this simple activity, it is possible for us to attain that which was impossible even for the people in Satya Yuga to obtain. After performing or having performed austerities for 60,000 years. And that's a fact. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enters the picture. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us the ecstatic love of Vrindavan, which was not available to the residents of Satya Yuga. They could obtain only Vaikuntha. They could obtain the love of Krishna in the mood of awe and reverence. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has not come to teach us that. He has come to teach us what the love of Vrindavan is like. And this is all obtainable through the Sankirtan movement. And that is why Srimad Bhagavatam is so important. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the book of Sankirtan. If you read and recite the Srimad Bhagavatam, you are performing Sankirtan, and the very last verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam says exactly that. What is the last verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam?
Nam Sankirtanam yasya sarva vyadhi
Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param. So this is the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which glorifies Sankirtan. Yeah, so the Srimad Bhagavatam is very much a Sankirtan book. And if we have the Srimad Bhagavatam with us, then everything desirable can be obtained in this world. The perfection of life, eventually meaning going back to Krishna's abode. So this is actually the process. Srila Prabhupada mentions here many things about the present age of Kali and how people are they are royal editions of animals and they have nothing to do with spiritual life and godly life. So all we have to do is narrate the pastimes of Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this royal edition of animals will now become noble human beings. They will become great devotees of Krishna. So these are a few thoughts on this very important verse, and I'll repeat the translation once again. This Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Can you Google for Kalim Sabha Jayantya Arya and tell me the verse number exactly in the 11th canto? Any questions in the meanwhile? Yes.
I just wanted your thoughts on the different words used by Prabhupada and in Srimad Bhagavatam. So just to clarify, is there a difference between God and absolute truth? And then throwing into the equation Ishwar and Parameshwar, And also then could you also highlight about when Prabhupada uses the word Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Okay, yeah. Now in his introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada has made a distinction between God and the Absolute Truth. Because generally God is seen in terms of just a supreme controller, as a controller, and as someone who can give us all sorts of benedictions and so on and so forth. But the Supreme Absolute Truth represents the summum bonum, who is the source of everything, who is all attractive, endowed with all six opulences in perfection. So the Supreme Absolute Truth is a more complete understanding. Because the word God, yes, we use that God sometimes in a little loose way. Ganesh is also God. People think like that. Or Surya is God. And so is God. So, but they're not they're God with a small g. You distinguish that from, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. But that is not they're not the supreme, they're not the absolute truths, they're also relative. So the translation of that verse that I quoted, Kalim sabhajayanti arya gunagyaha sarabhaginaha yatra sankirtanenaiva sarva swartho bilabhyate. I'm reading the translation.
Which verse is it from?
This is 11.5.36. Those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga, because in this fallen age all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtana. Purport. A portion of it, I'll just read that. It is stated here that among the four ages, Kali Yuga is actually the best, because in this age the Lord mercifully distributes the highest perfection of consciousness, namely Krishna consciousness, very freely. Similarly, although Kali Yuga is considered to be an ocean of contamination, there is also an ocean of good fortune in Kali Yuga, namely the Sankirtana movement. In other words, all of the degraded qualities of this age are completely counteracted by the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So, that's it. Love of Krishna and entrance into Krishna's planet in the spiritual sky is the most supremely perfect and exalted status of life available anywhere at any time throughout the totality of existence. That perfection is available in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the holy names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So the message I want to give is that when we go back, we have to go back chanting, all glories to Kali Yuga. All glories to Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga ki jai. Kali Yuga ki jai. Yes? Yes.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify, please. Is it really now with every Kali Yuga like this? Because sometimes we hear also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't come in every Kali Yuga. So is it then still in every Kali Yuga love of Godhead will be available to achieve from Goloka Vrindavan?
Okay, your question is, will love of Godhead be available by chanting the holy names in every Kali Yuga?
Yeah.
Yes. Because in every age, in every Kali Yuga, the chanting of the holy names will be the way for deliverance, will be the Yuga Dharma, right? But, big but the love of God that is available in all other Kali Yugas is the love of Vaikuntha. It is ordinary love of God. Ordinary, not in the sense of it being material, but in the sense of it being imbued with the spirit of awe and reverence towards God. It is only when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes that the love of Godhead is in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. So this is very special, this Kali Yuga, in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. Right? Any other?
What is the difference between that Kali, those Kali Yugas and the previous 3 ages? Because in the previous 3 ages also it's all about Vaikuntha and all in the rest.
Yes.
So the same thing will continue.
Same thing continues. It's only that the method is made much simpler and much easier in Kali Yuga because the people are very unqualified. That's all. Yes.
I wonder if you could just explain, we understand there are 4 Vedas, and presume the Bhagavatam and the histories are considered the 5th Vedas, and there were rishis who looked after each of these Vedas, and Roma Harshana, who's I believe Sutta Goswami's father, he looked after the Puranas. So how is it that, if you could maybe explain, maybe even through the pastime, how is it that he kind of succumbed to insulting Lord Balaram as he walked into the Naimisharani forest, and he didn't pay respect? Because you would think someone who's possibly given that responsibility is someone who's knowledgeable in etiquette as well as, but he fails to observe respect, and Lord Balaram sort of walks in. Maybe you can narrate that pastime as well. I've kind of forgotten it as well.
Okay, so your question is about the pastime where Balaram comes to Naimisharanya and Romaharshana Sutta is on the Vyasasana, and when Balaram comes to that spot, everybody rises to respect and welcome Balaram, but Romaharshana Sutta does not rise from the Vyasasana. And Balaram then is annoyed. He takes a blade of grass and strikes him dead. And then there's a tumult there in the assembly. Oh, what's happened? My lord, you have killed our speaker. And so, we had requested him to sit on the Vyasasana and to give us, knowledge of the Puranas. And we had also blessed him with long life. And now you proved our benediction false. So Balaram said, all right, then I'm sorry I've done it, so I can bring him to life again. He said, no, that's not good. You're the Supreme Lord, you're perfectly independent to what you like, and you have your own plan, been doing all of this. So we don't want to interfere in your plans, your higher plan, and it's not good that we will interfere with it. So let it be. But it is said that the Father lives in the Son. So therefore, whatever potencies and blessings we have imparted to this Romaharshana Sutta, may that be transferred to his son, Sutta Goswami, and may he continue the tradition of the narration of the Puranas. And then Sutta Goswami becomes the person who follows and he narrates. Now, Romaharshana Sutta was, in a sense, not wrong, because generally when you're seated in a Vyasasana, then you're the only one who is, shall we say, free from that obligation to rise, because you are representing Vyasadeva. Unless a very exalted person comes in and then you actually get up. But normally, even if generally respected people come in, it's okay if you sit, because you're on the Vyasasana delivering a lecture on the Srimad Bhagavatam. But this was not an ordinary or extraordinary person even, it was the Supreme Lord. So then Balaram made this pastime. Okay.
The significance of using the grass or the straw, is there any significance in using it?
It's a kusha grass. It is just to show that that the Lord, He can do anything. He didn't even need a blade of grass. He didn't need that. He could have just thought, let him die. He would die. But He wanted to just demonstrate that for Him, as the Lord, even a blade of grass can be, an instrument to do whatever He likes. He's omnipotent. He can do anything.
In this last line, Prabhupada says, one who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can see also Lord Krishna in person. They are identical. How do we understand this? How do we see Srimad Bhagavatam?
By hearing attentively, by submissive oral reception. Automatically that happens. Anarthopashamam sakshat bhakti yogam adhokshaje. What is it? Yeah, so when you hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, anartha upashamam, all these anarthas in the heart are destroyed. Just by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Chakara Bhagavan Rishi. So this has been created by the Rishi Vyasadev. So just by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam attentively, then all these anarthas become destroyed. And the next verse there is Yasyam Vaishruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Punsaha Shokamoha Bhayapaha, where he says that by hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam, then what happens, which is the glorification of Krishna, Krishna Paramapurushe. There are three things that happen. Bhaktir Utpadyate Punsaha, bhakti or love for the Supreme Lord is awakened, and actually the three things are destroyed, Shoka, Moha and Bhaya, which means lamentation, illusion and fear are destroyed. So by studying Srimad Bhagavatam, by reciting it, by hearing it with great attention, all the unwanted things in the heart are destroyed and Krishna manifests within the heart. Sadhyo hridiyavaruddhyate trikatibhi sushrushabhi tatkshanat. That is the last line of the first verse of the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. That by attentively hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, very soon, very quickly, Lord Krishna will manifest in the heart of that person. Sadhya means immediately. Shushrushabhis means to one who faithfully hears. So when you faithfully hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, immediately Krishna will manifest in your heart. So therefore, by seeing Srimad Bhagavatam with the ears, also by seeing personally, you can offer respect. Because this is not just some ordinary paper now. It used to be ordinary paper before it went to the printing press. But once it was printed, then this ceases to be ordinary paper. Now this is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we offer our respect. So when we see the Bhagavatam, we are seeing Krishna. But then it's not meant to be kept as it is. It is meant to be studied, to be heard, to be recited. And when you do that with the ears and also with the eyes, by reading it and by hearing it, then Krishna manifests within the heart.
And that is like equal to seeing Krishna.
That is equal to seeing Krishna, yes. Hearing about Krishna is the same as seeing Krishna. And eventually we will be actually able to see Krishna face to face.
Where? Spiritually.
Face to face, he will appear. Wherever we are, in London or in New York or anywhere, he will come. Yes, we have faith.
Yes.
So this sound vibration is the same as Krishna, there's no difference. between this sound vibration and Krishna's form. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
You mentioned that we have to understand Bhagavad Gita before reading or studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So I often wonder that if I never come to a point that I fully understand Bhagavad Gita, then how do I know when I can start to study Srimad Bhagavatam?
Okay, your question is that it was mentioned that we should study Srimad Bhagavad Gita before we come on to the Srimad Bhagavatam. But if it's taking very long to thoroughly study the Bhagavad Gita, then when will we study Srimad Bhagavatam? Well, there's no limit to how much you can understand Bhagavad Gita also. Even though it is a preliminary text, but it is such a deep text. And every verse can have such deep meanings. And you can for your whole life just relish one verse of the Bhagavad Gita as well. But the point I'm trying to make is that at least you should have a basic understanding of Bhagavad Gita. You should understand the fundamental concepts. You should hear Bhagavad Gita classes on a regular basis, so you know who is Krishna, you know what is the soul, what is karma, basic things. If you know that, then yes, then you can go on to the Srimad Bhagavatam. One could also read the Srimad Bhagavatam directly, but if you don't have the basic concepts, then we will misunderstand. There's a likelihood that we will think, why is this, why is that? So we should understand who Krishna is before we get into Krishna's pastimes. That's the idea. Okay, so thank you very much. So Sunit and Ananga Mohini Devi, thank you very much for hosting us this evening and for a direct Bhagavatam session. It's very nice that we can discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, and we hope and pray that Srimad Bhagavatam can awaken in your house and in your hearts, just like we hope it will do for all of us, and then our life will become perfect. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shriman Kali Yuga, Shri Kali Yuga ki jai.
Jai.